Welcome to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Keenan Lake is the author of the book My Daddy Taught Me That, published by Welcome, a social worker and activist. You can like this show's fan page at www.facebook.com/The Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Feel free to post any comments, questions, or requests for his book on the fan page. Now let's go into the studio with your host, Mr. Keenan Lake, and co-host, Marcus Select.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Keenan Lake Show, live and on demand on SIBN Radio. Yours truly, Marcus Select. And Keenan, how are you doing on today?
Coach, I am doing pretty good today. It's a pretty cold day here in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina, but the sun is shining, I'm walking, I'm upright, so I'm doing well.
That's what's up. What are we talking
about? How about
yourself,
today? Coach?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Just weathering the storm going on in Jesus' name only. But I'm hanging in there. So
all right.
What are we talking about today?
Well, Coach, today I wanted us to talk about, and the topic of the show is, when will you step up, and you in parentheses. Coach, you know, most of our audience who's tuned in and listened to any of the Keenan Lake shows knows that I'm a social worker, an activist, author, and public speaker, and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm involved with a lot of things here in the Asheville community here in Asheville, North Carolina. So I attend a lot of meetings and a lot of functions, Coach. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to the folks about, and this is not a particularly a group of folks, this is just in general, but primarily those who are in need of services, in need of referrals, in need of, help out there, anyone who's in need. Coach, and this is something that's been going on for some time, but when I'm involved with these meetings, some of the biggest things that we talk about is how to get folks involved. Be it parents trying to, when we're working with youth and young adults, trying to get parents involved and get them on board with what's going on. When we're talking about functions for the communities, such as initiatives to help improve a certain section of the community or improve a certain aspect of the community, or be it, whatever, Coach, any type of assistance that's going on. How do we provide services for this particular area? How do we get people to come out and have their voices heard and be a part of this? And the fact of the matter is, Coach, it's like it never happens, or the select few only come out. So an example of that is this. If I'm in charge of a board that's trying to get, let's just say, medical health care for a particular area, and we have a goal for 60 to 70 people to show up, only 8 or 9 people show up, that's not good. Mm-hmm. Coach, and it's like this is something that happens on a regular basis, but when those who are in need, or when those who truly need the services don't participate, don't show up, it's like they're the main ones who are saying, we never get the help, or no one cares. And, Coach, you might want to weigh in on this a little bit.
I mean, one of the things that we have to understand and realize that people are not as committed who are in need as they should be. And that's not an indictment on them. But as we become better citizens, we must learn the process of being involved with the services, or the I want to say service providers that are helping us, as they say, get a leg up. You see what I'm saying? These kinds of involvements are necessary to ensure, now, as you were saying off air, that the services are available when needed. That's the funny part. When they're not available, then they show up, And so we got to encourage folks, all of our listeners out there. We know that not only in this process with the Asheville County and services, but in general, what you feel that you are in need of, you have to step up to the plate and be that one person that makes a difference, and be involved in letting people know you're there, first of all. Second of all, letting people know that you appreciate those services. and then being somewhat of a guardian so that when you go to the next level, that service is perhaps available for the next person, because that's the way it really should be, not that we're living by these services. You know what I mean?
Coach, you're exactly right. And this is the thing. This is what, I wanted to do the show today is because of the fact that, I kind of know how certain things work behind the scenes. I'm able to see, behind the curtain, how politically things work, how, county systems work, how city and state systems work. So I wanted everyone to be aware that this is how it works. If we don't use the resources that are available to us, then they go away. Mm-hmm. Or they use those resources for another thing. So this is how it works. If there's a lot of money, let's just say, I'm going to throw out a random number. Let's just say there's $20,000 allotted for your community to upkeep, a playground, or to bring in medical coverage for the elderly or for the youth, or whatever the need is. If those services are not used and that money that's allotted for that particular area is not used, then they use that money for other things. And a lot of times they bank on that. They know. One of the biggest things that we talk about, Coach, is, how do we get people out? Of course, the number one thing is always food. If you bring food, if you give food, people will come. But even with that, we find that it's very, very difficult to get participation in a lot of the folks. Be it parents, be it whatever the need is at the time. It's a lot of hesitation. It's just a very difficult thing. Mm-hmm. As a person who's running a nonprofit organization working with youth, it's difficult. When I need to get parent participation involved with my young men, it's like how do I reach out to these parents and get them involved when I've tried several different things? And the fact of the matter is, Coach, it becomes discouraging. So these particular folks say, excuse me, these particular folks say to themselves, like, why should I even bother? Mm-hmm. We've done this before. We've tried this. We tried reaching them on this aspect. We tried reaching them on that aspect. So why should we even bother? Let's not even waste our time, and we'll use that money for other things anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, the bottom line to poverty services to encourage people to step and rise up out of poverty is that it's a first come, first served basis. People still don't realize that. There's so many more people that are poor today and becoming poor. The great divide, the haves and the have-nots, that this is a first come, first serve. And organizations are strapped as to where to put these services where they feel that there is a response. And we've got to encourage people and let people know, listen, you need to spread the word, because this thing is growing even greater as far as the divide is concerned. And so you can't guarantee a service, not to the poor anyway, not in this day and time. Politically speaking, we don't have that kind of capital anymore, because there is a sector of people in the political structure that wants to ensure that there is no services to the poor. Pull your own self up. Tie your own bootstraps. Get WIC from someplace else. Food stamps, $40 billion is supposed to be getting cut. And so the reality of it is that these services are not guaranteed. They were never meant to be a lifestyle. And I think the answer to the question might be a little bit more hardcore, more, bloody than we intended for it to be. And that is, a lot of folks have taken these services on as lifestyles. So they figure, hey, this is free. This will always be. And so I don't really have to do anything but sit here and receive these services, because Keenan Lake and Asheville County, Fulton County, DeKalb County, and all the counties involved will be there for me. And this is that conditioning that you were talking about in another show, that we have adopted certain poverty strategies as lifestyle living, which furthers the problem and frustrates the providers as to how to spread such small resources in a thin manner. You know what I mean?
Coach, you always say that I've started a fire. Well, you have started a fire today.
Okay.
You have started a fire today, Coach. I am so glad that you have touched on some of these things. And when we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit more about these in depth.
All right. You're listening to the Keenan Lake Show live and on demand right here on SIBN Radio. Don't forget to follow the Keenan Lake Show on Twitter as the KL show, the KL show, and don't forget Facebook. On Facebook, Keenan, what is it?
I have 3 Facebook folks. I have Keenan Lake. That's one of my Facebooks. I have My Daddy Taught Me That. That's another Facebook. And I have the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Those are all 3 of the shows on Facebook.
All right, you guys, stand by. We'll be right back after the message.
This is SIBN Radio. And you have just tuned in to the Keenan Lake Show. I'm your host, Keenan Lake. I am a published author, book My Daddy Taught Me That, a public speaker, and the president of a men's development youth program. The purpose of this show is to create awareness on topics that are dear to my heart, primarily absent fathers, male role models in the home, youth and young adults and children, families, and neglect and abuse. I not only want to shine a light on these topics and create awareness on these topics, I want to educate, inform, encourage, and motivate. So please join us on the Keenan Lake Show. For more information about the Keenan Lake Show, give us a call at 415-967-2346. And we thank you for listening to SIBN Radio.
I'm Nomvula, aka Sunshine, and we here in South Africa are tuned in to SIBN Radio at www.415-96radio.com. If you would like to know more about the SIBN television and radio network, complete a contact form at the website www.415-96radio.com. Sunlet USA TV, reaching the world.
Now is the time. To have your radio show on SIBN Radio. You're ready to share your message with the world. Then call 404-910-5019. That's right, call 404-910-5019. Producing your radio show on SIBN Radio. For more information, dial 404-910-5019. That's right. 404-910-5019.
Yeah, we're back here. We're back here with the Keenan Lake Show. Thank you so very much for joining us live and on demand. The topic on today is when will you step up? Especially if you're receiving services of any magnitude from a political structure that really doesn't want to give it to you anyhow.
Coach, I'm glad you said something about this. And let me just say this, folks, okay? Coach is exactly right. I mean, this is the thing. It's not so much if you are receiving services, but it's about if you need services, if you need referrals, if you need any type of assistance with your everyday lives. This is not an opportunity to shun people or to look down on people or even to talk down on people. This is an opportunity for me, because of what I do, to let folks know that if you need services or referrals, if you don't have access to certain things, first of all, you need to ask for it. But you shouldn't be ashamed to ask for it, and you need to make sure you take advantage of all the things out there that are ready for you. Because Coach just now said earlier that the way this government is going, the way that the politician stream, the politician is shaping up, this whole governmental thing is shaping up, is that they're trying to cut every way they can. They're trying to take away any type of dollars, any type of revenue from services that they possibly can. So what's happening, Coach, is that things are getting a lot tighter. Mm-hmm. You know, the same amount of money that was allotted to a certain program last year might not be allotted for that same program this year, or it'll be a lot less money that's been allotted to that program. So if we don't, as folks, as individuals, start stepping up and saying, look, I need these resources in my community. I need these resources over here. I need this service in my community. If we don't start stepping up and speaking, then they're going to slowly but surely be cut and dwindling away from us. But then when we realize we need it, it'll be too late. Mm-hmm. And this plays a part, Coach, in certain things like that I also want to address today. Like, for example, this plays a part. Now, let me make this clear. Some things we can't, some things we always need to let our voices be heard. But certain things we may not be able to change. the food stamp situation, they're going to cut that regardless. That's just something that they have plans and means to do. They're going to cut that. They're going to try to make sure that they want to do away with the entire EBT system regardless. So, but we need to make sure that our voices are heard with that as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's a shame. I think that there are people who are not taking advantage of the system. There are people who truly need these for families, and that if that is being taken away, it will really, really hurt a lot of families and hinder our economy, and it'll hinder our society as a whole. Mm-hmm. But Coach made another valid point. This is not a system that becomes a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. These are not systems that we should take advantage of to the tune that is like, you know what, I've been receiving this assistance since I was a baby or since this is, it's like, no, this is not a lifestyle. So with that being said, we have to make sure that, we're not taking advantage of the systems that are out there designed to help. Mm-hmm. Now, Coach, what I want to say is this, Coach, there's something that's been going on in North Carolina now, and I found out about it about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And what's going on, Coach, and it's actually they're starting to call it from school to the penitentiary. Mm-hmm. So basically, what that means is that it's like the school system is, instead of the school system preparing our youth and our young adults to get out here in the world and be better, our schools are preparing them or directly sending them to the penitentiary. Mm-hmm. And an example of this that I've been seeing here, primarily in my community and even in the state of North Carolina. And this is something that has been taking place over the last several years, is this. If an individual gets in a physical altercation at school, Coach, mm-hmm. they automatically get sent to jail. Mm-hmm. Okay, a physical fight, they automatically get sent to jail. Then they got to go back to court. Then they got to, and me personally, Coach, I think that's very wrong. Mm-hmm. The reason for that is this. Now, let me make myself clear. If you have a person who's bullying some people and disruptive all the time and getting in fights and physical altercations, and this is a regular pattern for this child, then yeah, there should be some kind of consequences that should be set in place. However, let's just say, Coach, I'm going to use your son as an example. Your son's an A honor roll student. He gets into a physical altercation at school, and it doesn't matter if it's his fault or not. Mm-hmm. Even if he's defending himself, he's going to jail. He then has to go to court, get a lawyer, go to court, and do all this other kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that. And right. I think that this is an example of, by us not stepping up, by us being, not showing up to PTA meetings, to this, to that, this is another example of our voices not being heard, and us not taking advantage of the system, and letting the system, take advantage of the situation which is affecting our youth. Mm-hmm. You can go ahead and weigh in, Coach.
No, but that's exactly right. I mean, I want to make a correction earlier on what I said about those who receive services. I think that there's a small percentage of folks who are living off these systems, and there is a big debate among political parties about the role of government, and that is a whole nother show by itself. Many are rising up more so now than before, saying that the role of government should be minimized, and that the reason why it should be minimized is because folks are using the governmental service, but that's provided in urban and poor communities, particularly, to become more lifestyle driven. So what I want to make a correction about is there's a small percentage of folks who going to do what they're going to do. But then there's another percentage of folks who really are using the services, and they really may need particular services, but they don't understand the dynamics of how those services are distributed to them. And for them to be able to secure more services in the future, or secure services now that are at risk of being pulled back, stripped back. There's a budget word for that. I can't remember the budget word for that. They're required to be present to speak up. And so I don't want it to be confused that, we think that everybody is living off the government. But we do know that there's a small section of the population, wherever we go, urban or not, all colors involve all races, who are going to do what they're going to do. But then there's another sector of people who do need services, who do use services, but they don't really know the value of their voice. They don't know the value of their voice. So as to the school situation, what I have come to learn, now, Kenan, I'm a student when it comes to these things that you be talking about. But what I've come to learn is it's not structured like you and I grew up. It is structured differently. And so by virtue of default, many policies and rules have gone into place because folks never said anything.
Right.
Rules and laws, even laws, but right now we're talking about pretty much rules and regulations, particularly, regarding students and teachers and school environments. A lot of times these are discussed in various meetings beyond PTA now, and there is no one representative of the people that are attending the school.
Exactly.
And so by virtue of default, guess what? Now we have, my son even said that. He said, Dad, school is like a prison. So, I mean, Keenan, there's a lot of validity in this understanding about stepping up. We're not saying, step up and even get more services or not. We're not even debating that. If you need help, you need help. But what we are saying is that any service to the poor requires involvement from the poor. Would you say that?
Exactly. I agree with that 110%, Coach.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing with that, Coach. I mean, this is the thing, and I tell one of my cousins this all the time, one of my little cousins. I can't, he's a football player, and what I always tell him is this: I can't want you to be good in football or be the best in football more than you want it. And basically what that means is this: I want you to be the best football player in the state, in the country, but I can't want that for you more than you want it, because if I want it more than you, it's a problem.
Well, I mean, I think that
go ahead, Coach.
I think that statement alone right there is a very big question. We need to have a show on that question alone, because I have been being educated that there is a lot less want to, for whatever reasons. It could be a number of reasons. Doesn't necessarily mean a person don't really wish for it, but there's a lot less want to, Keenan, than there used to be for things, or people don't know how to allow their drive for something to come to the surface so that they can really push for it. I don't quite understand that part right there, and that's a question that we have in culture that is really, but back to what you were saying, you can't want it for the person. You can't want it for the person. So, Keenan, let me ask you a question. So what do you do with a growing population of young folks who are around older folks who don't want anything, and yet the child wants something, but because children mimic more what we do than what we say, they by default now don't want anything in particular but to get by?
Well, that's a great question, Coach. And what I would say to that is this: I mean, you made a very valid point. They're going to mimic what we do. Mm-hmm. So, but I would say to the youth, and what I tell youth, my relatives, what I tell youth in my programs, is that first of all, they have to dream. They have to have dreams and goals to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, and if they don't have any dreams, if they don't have any goals, what is their purpose?
Right.
So it's like, we're all here. Christ has given us all a reason to be here. We all have a light to shine. We all have, value, and we all have gifts to give this world. Mm-hmm. So if you don't, first of all, cultivate and grow that gift, so you can enhance it to be that beacon of light for this world that Christ wanted you to be, then what's the point? Mm-hmm. You might as well just crawl under a rock and just let that be it. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't do those things, what's going to end up happening is you're going to be very depressed in life, very disappointed in life, because you're going to come up short time after time after time. And what we're finding, Coach, is that a lot of the youth, even a lot of our young adults, even a lot of our old adults, have not prepared themselves, and so therefore that mentality that you're talking about, it's like I don't have the desire, or I don't have the will, or it's kind of left us in this depressed state. Mm-hmm. So what I would say, Coach, is this: first and foremost, and this is the thing, folks. If you don't know how, mm-hmm. please call folks who do. There's plenty of people in your area, in your hometown, in your neighborhoods, in your cities, who do have the answers to say, how do I get my voice heard? Mm-hmm. Because what we understand, Coach, is this: if we get our voice heard, like, for example, the Stand Your Ground law, okay, the Stand Your Ground law, the same law that they did the big Trayvon Martin thing on. Well, who knows what's going to happen with that law? But because enough people expressed concern because enough voices were heard. They're actually looking. Even if they don't change the law, they are looking at it. They're
Right.
you know, it's something's instead of them just leaving it like it is. There's a chance that something can happen with that law. So that's what we have to do with our voices. You know, it's like, step up, make a difference. You know, don't just wait for somebody else to do it, or don't just wait for something to happen. Now, I spoke about Christ earlier in my little insert just now about how Christ wants us to do certain things, but Christ also wants us to step up and do things as well. We can't just wait for Christ to come down out of the heavens and say, I'm going to do it for you, or I'm going to do this. We have to put, how's it go, Coach? We have to put, what is it, works with our actions?
Right.
Is that right?
Well, right. And Jesus even put actions with our faith. But listen, Jesus even asked the man that I believe it was the man at the pool of Bethesda, but I don't want to be quoted on that, but he was at the pool nevertheless. And he asked the man, not from a political standpoint, not from an economic standpoint. He just asked him a personal question. He says, do you want to be made whole? And the man began to sound like many of us, you know, at some point in our lives, you know, where we use legitimate excuses that have ounces of truth, but not enough to weigh us past the past. You know, well, every time I get ready to get in the pool, somebody gets in before me. You know, every time I get ready to do something, you know, somebody pushed me out the way. And Jesus asked the man again, well, but do you want to be made whole? But do you want to? You know, excuse my ebonics, but do you want to be made whole?
Right. Exactly.
And I think that's the question that you're asking people, because at some point of our in our lives, all of us needed assistance of some kind, whether from our parents, whether from the government, whether it be from the school, whether it be from the scholarship board, whether it be from, you know, X, Y, and Z. We all have needed assistance. And listen, make no bones about it. Folks that are well-to-do, that have the money to pay for, buy counties and buy this and buy that, like they try to buy a few elections ago, even they will come across points where they need help. Yep. And so what we're saying is, first, let's get rid of the stigma that's attached to showing up. Well, I don't want them to see me because I don't have no clothes. You know, I don't have a car, and I don't know how I'm gonna get home, or it's raining. You know, and this carries on when it comes to voting. Let's slide the same skill set over to the political process. You know, back to what you were saying, Keenan. There are so many people that are there in Asheville. So many people here in Atlanta, the various counties and across the United States, even throughout the world, who are fighting for people to have the right not only to vote, but have the knowledge of the candidates that they're voting on. And then unless it's a presidential election, like we've had in the last couple of times, you have folks who just don't get it. They don't get that their voice matters, their voice counts. Perhaps it may not count in one way, but yet it'll count in other ways, because the pattern for people who are building prisons and providing for a higher rate of recidivism and providing for a greater growth rate of poverty-stricken neighborhoods and regions count on certain patterns that we have exemplified. One of them being,
Coach,
they won't show up.
I'm so glad you said that. You're exactly right, Coach. I mean, the thing is this, folks, believe it or not, people study you. People study us. People study cultures. People study races. Mm-hmm. So after 10 or 12 times, or after even 5 or 6 times, when patterns start to become the norm, then they, you know, it's like, well, I already know that, I already know that Marcus Salette is not going to show up for this PTA meeting. He hadn't showed up for the last 20. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What makes me think he's going to show up now? You know, the other thing is this, folks. Believe it or not, this is just an example of what I'm talking about, folks. If you have a child in school, okay, and you don't show up to PTA meetings, PTO meetings, things like that, what happens is teachers start taking your child less serious. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they start to say, well, you know what? I have 5 other parents who showed up for Jeff, Jill, and Becky. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make sure those 5 kids get my undivided attention, because, first of all, I don't want these parents calling me with no problem. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I know if I don't take care of these kids and give them my best, then I'm going to have problems with these parents. They're going to make sure they're going to end up calling my superiors. Mm-hmm. So I don't want that situation. Mm-hmm. So what happens is the kids whose parents show up, the kids whose parents are asking questions, they get the best. Mm-hmm. And the ones of us who don't do that our children get whatever's left over, and at the end of the day, you can best believe teachers are human beings. They make mistakes just like the rest of us, and they may give your child a little less, maybe not even on purpose, but it happens. It's life.
And the other issue is, listen, I will admit, as intelligent as I think I may be, that I have shown up and not put together what was going on. So there's a fear out there that if I show up, if I go to that meeting, I don't know what they're going to be talking about. I don't know how to engage. I don't know how to respond to X, Y, and Z because I have no clue. But you know what? Your presence, them folks that stayed at the Capitol, I believe it's the Capitol over there in Florida. I forget what city, it slips my mind right now. But I was watching that story for a bit, and I mean, they asked, well, why didn't you guys go home? Why didn't you guys quit? Why didn't you guys just leave? I mean, didn't you hear in the news that they said they weren't going to change, stand your ground? And they said for the generations to come, for the people that will come after, for the little kids, the little boys that'll be walking the streets that'll be innocent, we have to stay here, stand here, sit here until our voice is heard. And I will submit to you that there are some in that crowd who did not have a clue about what was going on, but because they had a nucleus of others who were articulate, they stuck with them and said, I'll stand with you. And so I want to encourage those that may be listening before we go to break. Listen, you have to value yourself as a human being. Now, there's another whole conversation we could have about how the world and how systems look at us as entities and not as human beings. I don't even want to go there. Right. But I want to encourage you to understand that when you are in a community, the services that you are receiving, however small they may be, however stigmatized they may be, these services are at risk of being minimized at best, if not eliminated. Exactly. Listen, Keenan, let's go to a quick break. You're listening to the Keenan Lake Show. Keenan Lake setting fires again. You know what I'm saying? Keeping it locked, keeping it hot. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. You know what I'm saying? Because we really care about the folks that are listening. We want you to be well. We want you to be growing. And so when we come back from the break, some more solutions on how you can be involved where you are. There's an old proverb that says, rule where you stand. We'll be back after the break.
Trust that you are enjoying the show. Stay right there. We'll be right back after these messages.
Responsible. Accountable. Who taught you that? My daddy taught me that. That's right, the new book all the way from Asheville, North Carolina, representing the legacy of Benny Lake is Keenan Lake, the author of My Daddy Taught Me That, the book and the program for young men in Asheville, North Carolina, and throughout the region. Tune in to the program, the project, and the book at MyDaddyTaughtMeThat.com. For more information, email lake@MyDaddyTaughtMeThat.com. or call 828-582-2261. That's 828-582-2261. MyDaddyTaughtMeThat.com.
Well, we're here wrapping things up, the Keenan Lake Show, man, keeping it live, keeping it locked, keeping it hot. Because we care about you. We care about your growth. We care about where you're going. Because you know what? You're not, there's no guarantee either that you will always be where you are. Keenan, I mean, some people, don't realize that their efforts, however minimized they may feel they are, they may be making some progress and don't realize it.
Don't even realize it. Sometimes, Coach, to say the door and the opportunity is right there, and you just got to get right through that door. And then as soon as you do, and it's not even, sometimes not even that hard. It's just the barriers that we put up for ourselves that make us think this that hard, or maybe we saw someone else and it's like, man, I don't want to go through that. But, folks, we have our own journeys, we have our own paths, and, do not be discouraged by, hard work or Do not be discouraged by, setbacks. That's a part of life. That's a part of life. And if you don't have setbacks, if you're afraid of hard work, then you'll never be able to get through that door. You'll never be able to have that breakthrough that, you hear people talk about. So with that being said, Coach, I want to let the folks know that I am a community service navigator here in Asheville, North Carolina, Buncombe County. My job is to provide services for families, okay? I am a social worker too, but my main job is to provide services, resources for families, hook families up with any type of services they need, help families connect with folks. So if there's anyone in the Asheville, Buncombe County area who's in need of services, you can give me a call at area code 828-775-2098. You can also email me at keenan.lake@buncombecounty.org, and you can get in touch with me that way. This is one example, folks, of a way to help you along this process. It's not a thing to be afraid of. Everyone might need help at certain times. Coach mentioned this earlier. There are plenty of services out there waiting for folks who need it. There are plenty of providers out there who are looking for folks who need it. It's just up to you guys to step outside that box, step outside of your circles, and say, I need it. And sometimes that's some of the hardest things, Coach.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I want to encourage somebody to understand something else before we leave the air today. Just like you got a certain segment of the poor who we can't do anything about, they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to rob, they're going to steal, they're going to take advantage of the systems that are there for the poor to help others. You got a system also in place. We don't talk about it much on the show. We're going to be talking about some systems in place that the rich use to advance their causes. And just like you got a section of the rich who don't care nothing about nobody but themselves, they're in political places, they're in economic places of influence. And let me encourage somebody out there, while you tripping and having fear about not knowing how to respond to a PTA meeting, while you tripping and having fear about not knowing what to wear to a meeting, with the Asheville County government of some sort, somebody else across the way, is putting on a $700 suit, figuring out how to rob you blind, how to steal from you, how to steal from your kids and your kids' kids and your kids' kids' kids, and have no shame about it, and will turn around, Keenan, and write a law and say that what they did was legal.
Was legal. But see, and I'm glad you made that point, Coach. And folks, you got to understand what Coach is talking about is this: we have opportunities. Like, for example, we have a Buncombe County Commissioners meeting, and this is open to the public. The public can go to these meetings, folks. These are meetings that you need to be at to hear about. First of all, not only what's going on in their community, the changes, the things that you need to be aware of, but like Coach said, there are things going on behind these doors that where folks could be taking money out of this place, putting it in that place, and it's to benefit them. Mm-hmm. It's not to benefit. It's not the reason that this money was allocated could be for families, could be for a new something to go on, something new to help and improve a neighborhood, but because no one was there to see it through, or no one was there to raise an eye about it, or to raise a voice about it, or give their opinion, or give their voice, then this has been, just quietly put under the table for other use, and primarily could be used for ill gain. That's exactly how it works, right. Coach.
That's exactly right. I want to leave everybody with this scripture that so many Republicans and others use for even when we were with you. We would give you this command: if anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. And there's a quote, there's a philosophy, a theology really out there that says if the poor wants to have a better life, they should work harder to advance their position in life. A society doesn't run on everyone, having the same standard of living. It isn't the government's job to steal from the rich, who have worked hard for their wealth. But let me just make it very plain and clear. We're not advocating that the services that are being provided are always fair. But what we all are saying is that if you go to the meetings respective to the place where you live, you will at least do three things. You will know what's going on. You will know who is in supposedly control. And you will be able to relate that to your own personal as well as professional needs. We're not saying that you're going to be able to go in there and change the world. We're not saying that you're going to be able to go in there and make one vote and all of a sudden everything goes your way. But what we are saying is that you are making those who are holding these offices respectively, whether it be political, whether it be economic or whatever, making them accountable, that they see a face or a family represented from the region that they are in charge of serving. So look, make note, look, we could, Keenan and I could go all kinds of directions with this show right here. I mean, we could talk about how billions have been stolen off the backs of the poor. Billions of dollars. But we won't go there. But we know that services are at risk. So we want to encourage you, especially during the holiday season, while you're tripping about the toys and all that, the tree and the lights and all of that and beyond. You want to be the one who keeps an eye on certain meetings that will go on. For instance, let me use this for a real quick example. Let's say, for instance, they want to build a highway through your area, you know, and they're developing a situation where a developer says, hey, we want to put up X, Y, Z condos, whatever the case may be. And let's say this is going through the urban or rural or poor area. Let's say you don't go to no meetings. You don't have a clue what's going on. And you don't even own a home, but you're renting, you know, and you're just making do. All of a sudden now you find out your entire complex is closed down because now they got to bring demolition experts in because they finna make a highway through your living room. And then you get mad, you know what I'm saying? Well, why they tell us? Well, because you know what? You didn't have your ear to the grapevine to find out what was up. So that's an example of what we are saying, right, Keenan?
Exactly, Coach. Folks, you know, this is the thing. And what I said in the beginning is this: it's about us taking onus for ourselves, taking onus for our situations, taking onus for, you know, what we believe in. And so it starts with you. You know, if you know, like, you know, I think it was Michael Jackson who said that song, you know, The Man in the Mirror. You got to look in the mirror and say, okay, where can I make a difference? Where can I make a change? And how can I be a useful asset to help others and to help myself, to help my family? And just to be a responsible citizen. If we don't start taking responsibility for ourselves, if we don't start taking responsibilities for our communities and our neighborhoods, you know, we're going to find ourselves on the outside looking in, and it's not going to be a good thing, Coach. Coach, I think we had a wonderful show today, folks. If you missed anything in the show or you missed any pertinent information, one thing I want to reiterate is that I am a community service navigator here in the Asheville-Buncombe County area. I am responsible for helping families find services, giving referrals, connecting with partners, doing all that kind of stuff. So if you have a need, if there's anything that I can connect you with, help you with, please give me a call, area code 828-775-2098, or email me at keenan.lake@buncombecounty.org. Again, I want to give my Facebook information to all those who want to talk about other upcoming shows or who want to respond to this show we're on now. My Facebook pages are Keenan Lake, My Daddy Taught Me That, The Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. My Twitter account page is The KL Show, and the website is www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Coach, before we end, I want to give a special shout out and a special awareness tab to the comedy show that we're having January the 18th. It's going to be here in Asheville, North Carolina. Excuse me. I would actually tell folks, if you want to get tickets for this event, go online to the AshevilleTheater.org. Tickets are on sale now, $25. Please support this function. This is actually my very first fundraising event for My Daddy Taught Me That. So part of the proceeds will be donated to my men's development program so I can continue to keep that going. We need all the support we can get. Mm-hmm. Coach.
And don't forget to visit www.mydaddytaughtmethat for the Christmas holidays and give back. We have the book yet still. You can order the book, My Daddy Taught Me That. You can also order clothing. I think that's coming up. Is that already on the website or is that coming up, Keenan?
I have bits and pieces on the website, Coach, but I'm not really set up for them to do it yet. But I have a couple of more things I'm putting out, so it will be out pretty soon here, Coach.
All right, whatever you do, let Mr. Keenan know. You have the Facebook fan page, you have the Twitter, the KLS show, and so by all means, be respectful of those announcements. Visit www.mydaddytaughtmethat.com for more information. Weigh in, share in, because we appreciate all of our listeners sharing in, weighing in on the various topics that we have talked about. Thank you so very much. Happy holidays to you and your family. And Keenan, thank you so much for bringing to this bonfire more wood that keeps it burning hot. Hey, you've been listening to the Keenan Lake Show. Keenan, stand by. We're making it a close right about now. Thank you so very much. When will you step up? It's Coach.
SIBN Radio, powered by Salet USA TV. Tuning 24/7 at www.415-96radio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Salet USA TV and on Facebook at www.facebook.com Salet USA TV.
Thank you for joining us today for the Keenan Lake Show. We know you will be empowered as you consider the content shared by Mr. Keenan Lake, co-host Marcus Select, and our guests. For more information about Mr. Keenan Lake, please visit www.mydaddytaughtmethat and feel free to email us at lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Books can be ordered from Mr. Lake by calling 828-582-2261. Until next time, you've been listening to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio.
USA TV, tuning 24/7 at www.415-96radio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Salet USA TV and on Facebook at www.facebook.com Salet USA TV.